Welcome to Where Is My Mind, a podcast where we discuss fascinating films while trying not to cross the boundaries of brotherly love. I'm a large puddle of vanilla extract at the bottom of a giant hamster cage.
And I closed the window during takeoff while listening to Cloud Busting by Kate Bush because I paid for that window seat. Ryan.
Oh, yeah, my name's Parker. I forgot. Today, we're talking about it's a movie. I don't know what to say about it. It's a movie that, I was shown by you. And I'm happy I found it, but what the fuck is wrong with you?
Well, that's a deep question. You know, I'm not a fan of the full Monty, but today we're talking about flexing with Monty. Or maybe flexing for Monty. It could be that as well.
That's what it feels like at times.
He's very demanding. He's the gym coach she never wanted, or a PE teacher that has taken too many steroids.
He's the one we didn't ask for, but we got him, and I don't know if I'm happy he's here. I'm happy his brother's here.
Yeah. Burton, his pal, is a seemingly nice person. So this movie was directed by John Albo. It's from Quarter Moon Productions. Sally Kirkland, who we all kind of know and love throughout her career, she was associate producer. Trevor Goddard is our main character as Monty, and Parker also witnessed Trevor in another role.
My research for this consisted of Mortal Kombat from 1995, where he plays Kano. And I liked Mortal Kombat in high school. So I just never got around to watching either movie. So I sat my brother down. I was like, let's just watch these two, because I knew they were going to be, let's just watch this, because I knew it was going to be dumb, right? It's Mortal Kombat. And it was fine. You know, it was very different seeing Trevor play an Australian like that. But they retconned the character of Kano based on his performance in the movie. Kano was originally going to be an Asian. And then when Trevor got the role, you know, because he has what's seemingly an Australian accent,
which was fake.
Actually, yeah, he faked it. He was British, and his accent sounded very similar to an Australian.
But we all believed it, and literally
everyone bought it. He got roles because of it. He was successful, so good for him. But yeah, they retconned Kano. So pretty much every Mortal Kombat thing that has involved him since 1995 has been somewhat based on his portrayal in that movie. So it's kind of weird. Yeah, I double billed that with Annihilation, and that was a mistake. That's for a different time, but it was a mistake.
And I can't imagine the soundtrack really stood up either, because Mortal Kombat, the original, had a very formative soundtrack to...
Well, I liked the soundtrack on both.
Did you? Okay.
The use was questionable. It was more the use than the actual thing. I was like... There were times I was like, okay, I'm just going to listen. I'm not going to pay attention to what's going on screen, because this is bullshit. But we're not talking about Mortal Kombat.
We're talking about Monty.
We're talking about Monty.
Or his brother. So we have Rudy Davis as Burton as his brother in the film. Sally Kirkland is Lilith. Susan Terrell is the voice of Mrs. Nog. And
what the fuck is Mrs. Nog?
Yeah, I need to ask. I don't know that she ever actually gets referred to as that. But
who is she? Who is she?
Yeah.
I've seen this 3 times. Who is she?
Well, we're still trying to figure out the mystery. During the title sequence, it lists the film as a domestic symphony, and I don't know what the hell that necessarily means or ties to.
And symphony, I should add, is spelled is Middle English, so SIMPHONIE. I think something like that. It's like this weird Middle English, and it's like, what do you want from me?
It's as if they're just putting in cryptic things that are...
it's like, what are we implying?
I mean, it does sort of it does reappear at the end of the film also, and in a context, but it's just an odd thing to put random stuff on the screen. But this movie is at times very random. This is sort of one of a handful of films that took like close to 14 years to produce and finish because it was really just like a hot mess. And then you had the death of Trevor Goddard in 2003, which posed things up, although he came back to before his passing to do some of the sequences and get this thing in the can and then finally released. The DVD, I don't know. This is one of the weirdest things. I suppose this has happened before, but in the way of promotion, they seem to be putting quotes that had no correlation to actors on the DVD slipcover itself. There's two from there's one from Danny DeVito and Sean Penn, and I think they're thoroughly not just incorrect, but just complete bullshit. And so I don't know why that would help you market this film.
Yeah, I was looking at IMDb and I was like, where the fuck did this come from? I promise y'all, it's most of this episode's just going to be both of us being like, this thing happened. I don't know, but it's happening.
And for myself, I was introduced to this by a friend that was really adamant that I see this movie, which is great because we all have pals that are like, you got to see this. This is the most insane thing. Sometimes that delivers, and you're pretty blown away. And for flexing with Monty, I was just really conflicted and confused in the best way, as in just seeing a character portrayal that I'd never witnessed before in any kind of film. And we've even sort of made some silly comparisons to Monty being the Sigma, to I guess it's called, to Patrick Bateman from American Psycho.
I was like, okay, who's the one like character that like I constantly see like just on like in memes and social media? And Patrick Bateman. I haven't finished that book. I've been reading that for 6 months and I haven't finished it because I get so fed up with Bateman so quickly. You know?
Yeah, he's not a great person.
It's so problematic.
The references to pop music, though, is always fun. I think that's graphic nature plus pop music references.
Oh, yeah. American Psycho, good book as far as I can tell, but holy shit, I'm mad at it.
And Christian Bale, being a handsome fella, he gets a lot of social media time, etc., which is fine. And poor Trevor, he never really received his due and was gone far too soon.
Poor thing. He seemed really talented.
Yeah. There was probably just a lot more ahead of him that would have shown his range. Although sticking with the whole Australian accent thing and actually being British, you just kind of. At what point does that rubber hit the road and you need to kind of work through that?
It didn't hit the road. He kept going.
Yeah,
no one called him out on it.
It's called fraud. Parker. They have a name for it. The man was a fraud. He knew he was a fraud, but we have him as Monty. So anyway, so we start with Monty. He's welding stuff at his spark factory. And he says that there's nothing more creepy than a pair of kangaroo eyes caught in the glare of your headlights. And
cultural appropriation.
Still sticking with the Australian thing. So,
but then he talks about being American constantly throughout this movie.
Yeah, his kind of like hyper fetish of American is. I mean.
American masculinity.
Yeah, he's the ultimate expat. He's truly like the guy that like I wanted to go to war, but they wouldn't let me. That's all, it's a very, very peculiar thing. So yeah, he's like, I'm going to the good old US of A, growing into the proud American. It's just like, no, dude, it's what?
Yeah.
So
that's the reaction. Just what? I don't know what's going on.
I mean, you did notice right away, like the Mozart Fantasia in D minor as Monty's doing
immediately
crunches.
After the credits, Burton is shown playing that, and I was like, okay, but what are we doing?
Well, he's doing his workout. I mean, Monty's just constantly working out through every piece of dialogue.
It is hilarious watching like this weird, like this clearly jacked guy making weird grunting noises and having one of my favorite Mozart pieces playing in the background. It's so strange. And then when like the dialogue starts, whatever like soundtrack people, I won't forgive them for just cutting off the phrase in like the middle. Like it bothers me so much.
It's really like abrupt and strange, and the film
Yeah.
starts with this really peculiar 90s R&B hip hop type kind of soundtrack. I mean, it would fit mostly in like the Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch before Mark Wahlberg was Mark Wahlberg. Kind of,
Oh my god.
okay, CNC Music Factory. It's really kitschy, but then it goes to the classical piece, and
I like the juxtaposition. I can see it. I can see it.
so Burton is wants to quit school, and Monty's basically a kind of like I guess he's a caregiver in some capacity. That's kind of his.
At this point, yes. He's a caregiver of sorts.
And he's ambitious because he wants to be head of the athletic department. And he's just like, I'm going to train everybody. I'm going to the top. There's nobody that's going to stop me.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know, but he's just like, I still have to have Burton in my life because that's my everything sort of deal.
It's like being a Pokemon trainer. It's like, I'm going to be the very best.
And there are moments where like where you just can't help but think of Mortal Kombat.
Yes.
He's just doing these workouts, and you know, there's just like you're waiting for like a finish him, that certain dialogue to occur.
And Burton's like a small dude, so you're just like expecting like him to like crack his neck sometimes.
Well, and Burton is like so apathetic that he's unamused by all of the workouts, and he constantly is sarcastic towards Monty about basically having no brain and just being a gym rat and kind of no actual depth. But I mean,
no, I relate to that. I get it.
I mean, we do get Burton talking. So this film brings up like it has these I don't know, moments where Burton is constantly bringing up Christian metaphors toward Monty.
That's right. Yeah,
and so he's like calling him John the Baptist and spreading the word.
Yeah. There's a shocking amount of like religion stuff in this. I feel like I should have my Bible, one of like my many Bibles, because I live in the Bible Belt. Of course, I own four of the darn book. I feel like I should have one like in front of me for two reasons. One, so I can keep up with these damn references. Two, for my own protection.
Yeah.
Like that's what it feels like.
When he calls him Monty, Messiah, King of Jocks, that was specifically like, okay, all right, so we're doing a thing. But yeah, Burton's got a lot of one-liners, and I think it's good fun because it puts Monty in his place a little bit, but he still doesn't really acknowledge Burton as having any sort of like impact on him.
He's just a little brother.
Yeah.
At this point. He's just a little brother who's like the smart one.
And he's mostly like a sarcastic smartass as well, so it helps to balance the Monty masculinity, because he's like, what these kids need is time in the military, or better yet, put them on the chain gang. It's like, oh, huh.
He goes like a step away from just saying women belong in the kitchen. He never goes on like a rant like that, but like I feel like he's the type who would say, yeah, women belong in the home. You know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like you get a couple drinks in him, that's going to come out.
Yeah, he
doesn't drink. It's going to come out.
Very, very certainly, I guess what you would call toxic masculinity to some extent.
Absolutely.
It's like this guy hates women. He's like sort of interested in male bonding friendships or more, but then kind of apparently not. So, there's a sequence where he's just like pumping up this sex doll of his that's on a wall, and he's just like, pumping away to fill this thing up. And then there's like trophies and all kinds of other weird stuff. And then it just cuts into these like these creepy Polaroid flash images of him that are really like fairly disturbing.
I don't remember. It's not. I don't remember the Polaroids being disturbing. I remember what they were being used for being like, "Hey, buddy, no, this isn't cool."
Yeah, well, and he's like crunching he's got a bucket full of ice and he's just crunching it, and I'm like, why is this big yoked out dude just gnawing through ice cubes? I'm like, this is really strange.
But then he like fucks the sex doll, and like while looking at those pictures of himself, and it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's loud. You get a nice, good view of Trevor Goddard's ass, which I'm gonna complain about.
There's a fair amount of butt shots in this movie. There's
Yeah.
nothing actually per se graphic, but the degree of man ass and then like the relation to
Not good.
it's not great. No, I mean, but
not,
hey, there's
I'm not here for it. I don't like it. It's not good. It's weird.
well, it gets weirder because Burton calls classified ads to get a new pet, and it's a rare exotic animal that's being given away. And so we cut over to he gets home with his new friend. We referred to, I guess, previously referred to as cutesy thing. It's a middle-aged man in a diaper in a bird cage, an oversized bird cage, and he's bald. He's got a little bandana and diaper on, and he's not really able to verbally communicate.
He doesn't talk.
No.
He doesn't make noise. He just kind of stares and like will occasionally do weird things.
I mean, most people get fish. That's a starter.
I have a cat. I have a dog.
Cat, exactly. You know, I'm a big dog person.
Yeah.
But
my cat's in the other room right now, judging me. He's not asleep.
Yeah, but at the point, like you have a gimp in the cage or a box or just, some even consensual, willing human. They're not for pets. They're for friendship or have you.
I have questions.
Yeah.
This whole movie, this whole episode is just going to be me saying, I just have so many questions. I don't know if I want any of them answered.
The bodily function components of this movie and Monty are really filthy, and that I think really puts
not explicit, but just gross.
It is, yeah. It's a really like he just has a degree of like base humor that he seems to be thoroughly amused by, and poor Burton is just a consistent unamused brother that just wants to kind of be left alone to figure out his.
He lives in this warehouse with him and like has to be the subject. It's subject of these jokes more often than not. It's like I've heard middle schoolers make better jokes than what's going on here.
And the warehouse is our primary setting, so that's really like all we get is this.
I don't think it ever leaves.
Oversized gym warehouse is Monty's pad. There's a couple other room sequences, but for the most part, we're kind of stuck in, and it has that. I guess it would be considered maybe like an off-Broadway sort of effect of that, but
there's only a couple sets. Yeah, like if this was a stage play, and like you said that Sally Kirkland was like when she was producing it was like kind of thought of as like an off-Broadway sort of gig. It's definitely feels like a thing where it's like there would be like the main set of like the gym, warehouse, whatever. And like the different parts of the stage would be like maybe like if there's like a dream sequence or something strange, you could just use like part of it for that. It's very like contained though, just kind of nice.
Well, and I don't think I'm going to have any luck pushing this movie at like local C-Stock, local theater. Like that'd be an absolute.
I can't call my local theater and be like, "Can you put this thing on for me? Thanks." Okay. Not where I live. Not here.
Well, and Monty and Burton are like constantly wrestling throughout this movie.
Yeah.
There's a lot of physical contact, and it's the brotherly sort of kind of wrestling for a bit, but yeah, it gets kind of exotic, strange, and Burton.
Can we say it? Can we say it? There's a lot of like incest undertones in this.
Yeah, because Burton doesn't really admire Monty, but Monty seems to admire Burton. And there's one sequence where Monty has like this leather strap thing around his neck, and he's pulling this huge. It looks like the types of
tire.
chains. Well, yeah,
It looks like a tire on a chain, but it's like one of those big tractor tires.
it's just
Or some
crazy.
shit.
Yeah, I mean,
And he's pulling it. It's like a neck workout. And
yeah,
Burton's just sitting on top of it, and they're having a conversation.
and Burton seems
Okay.
perfectly comfortable with
So this
helping
is
out
normal.
this way
This
for
is
his
fine.
workout. I mean,
Average Tuesday night.
yeah, I mean, maybe maybe that is a thing. I've seen things like that
No.
with Formula One racers. So, for instance, like they do types of training like that, but this is a little unorthodox.
This feels wrong.
I mean, yeah, and
Yeah.
Monty's just such a bully because he just
Yeah.
constantly. Burton wants privacy, totally reasonable. And Monty's always making fun of him and like you need to see a psychologist and all this kind of stuff that yeah. But Monty's rants when he's not being crude, like they really just get they get pretty
Whoa, buddy.
pretty far out there, you know.
It's like, whoa, buddy, what you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah, he's kind of constantly pushing like I don't know, Burton's dating life kind of stuff and then
The lack of.
or lack of. Yeah.
Like never mentioned if he, is in any relationship, which is fine. I'm like, okay, whatever. But yeah, the amount of like that Monty just rags on him for being a skinny little bitch.
Well, yeah, I mean, and
like
also,
essentially.
he's so homophobic as well. He's just like
so
everything is
aggressively homophobic.
yeah.
But this is also the most homoerotic movie out there.
Correct.
Like,
yeah.
It's weird.
I mean, there's a moment where Burton is just like he's in his smoking jacket, and I thought he was just smoking tobacco at first. And there's like Marilyn Monroe, like holding
it's a weird
like,
Jesus thing.
It is. She's holding.
It's so weird.
A Messiah-esque type person, and little Cupid, fat Cupids are in this picture. And he says, "You knew the real power of ganja." I'm like, oh,
what does that mean? What's going on?
Yeah. He doesn't. I guess in that line he's endorsing that, but
no, I don't.
It's really strange. And Burton also wears like really peculiar head wrappings. I guess
he carries around a scarf with him in his pants.
Oh, we'll get to the scarf.
Yeah, it's
the
like,
scarf is.
It's introduced at this point, kind of. It's weird. And then like Burton, I think, then has like a dream sequence following this of like, isn't he in like the convent at like maybe I'm tired.
I think what he was because the dream is where Burton is actually he's pregnant and he's carrying
that
his mother.
Yes.
So and he says the mother I never knew, she wants to be born this time. Granny should have never had mother aborted.
What?
And then you cut to Granny with a knitting needle, which hey, running thing apparently. United Trash.
Get out!
But this time the knitting needle.
I'm so glad we were on the same page for that.
Oh God, I saw it and was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
Get out!
2 in a row.
No. Yeah, and then cuts of fetus falling into a bucket. Yeah, that's fun.
Granny is like really creepy with.
She is.
She's really menacing, and she has an eye patch. So, not that there's anything with that so much, but she's just like, "You'll never have a mother. All you need is Granny. When Granny's dead, you'll have Monty, and only Monty."
Guys, I think there are both mommy and daddy issues in this.
Oh, there's just a lot going on.
So
there's a lot of family challenges.
It cuts away from the dream, and it's Burton hugging like this picture of Jesus sleeping, and Cutesy's in the cage masturbating.
Yeah, Cutesy has discovered.
And you're like, oh, he's just there. He's just going. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Mom and Dad. So bad. Not good.
I don't know. His routine, they just keep going with him, like cutting away to doing his workouts,
various
because that's just
exercises.
that's obviously just a running sort of thing. But yeah, then Burton and Monty become sort of this weird blood brothers of sorts, because uh Monty has it's like a finger injury kind of thing that
Yeah,
Burton then smears onto Monty's face at one point, and that's a whole lot of strange stuff.
yeah,
So there's Burton is trying to deal with, why am I being raised by my brother? Where are my
yeah.
parents? I was at an
What is going on?
orphanage, and I'm going to need to find out those records somehow.
I need to know.
Yeah,
I mean, I'd say the same thing if I was being raised by him.
I
To
mean
be fair,
it makes sense.
no, it makes total sense.
No, Burton also explains he's threatened by other kids, and by he's afraid of some crazy priest suffering from, I had a hard time hearing it, but it sounded like he was saying Christ pains or Christ pangs. It's a really kind of
Something like
odd
that. I
phrasing.
think. Yeah, I think you're on. I think you're on the right track there. It's because he grew up in the. I'm guessing because Catholic orphanage. Guessing religion, guilt, and fear. I'm guessing that has something to do with all of this.
Well, and Monty's so dismissive of Burton's trying to study about Christian mysticism or things along those lines, and he's like, your head's full of junk, and that's probably why you're constipated. I was like, there we
Yuck.
go. Okay. I mean,
Mm.
so at one point, Burton starts explaining that Monty sacrifices his muscles for our existence, and that's why his body always aches. And and then we get into Monty talking about Granny, which is
Ugh.
probably one of the
One of the more
worst.
comfortable things.
Yeah, visually you're not seeing a whole lot, but the inference
No,
is
it's the implication. It's just like that's gross.
yeah. He's like, she has special ointments to cut the pain, and I was like, Granny's unlicensed and unorthodox massage techniques, and it's he's like, even
I
though
don't
she
like it.
stunk of old age, they both are reminiscing, about
Ugh.
their interactions, and a lot of slap-assery is what I referred to some of this as.
No, that's what it is. It's like when guys punch each other or they slap their butts, but it's in camaraderie, not in a weird way. It's like that, but let's make it weird but not weird.
Yeah,
That's
it's
kind of what's going on.
so
It's
Monty gets
just
a phone call, Parker, from personal
does.
ad. So yeah, he's placed his personal ad as Wild Stallion Giddy Up, and not a whole
Oh
lot else. And so he takes
no.
the call, and he's like, I'm definitely into leather, and of course I work out every day. Like, all right, that sounds about right. But at
You're
this point,
forgetting.
he's lying to Burton about what he's
Yeah.
up to.
You're forgetting when that phone call starts and he immediately just tells Burton, it's like, go fix me a drink with a banana. And
Oh, that's what. Yeah, he sends him
Burton
off.
fucking salutes, how am I fearing? It's like, what?
Yeah, Burton is not amused with Monty's
What
giving
kind
orders.
of relationship is this?
Yeah.
And then Burton listens in, while he's making this smoothie or whatever, focus on the banana, of course. He's listening in on this phone call and just so weird.
Well, and one of his
And
lines
then
is
Monty lines and it's like, I
"What's
have to
that?"
go visit this really sick friend. Okay.
So Monty arrives at his new friend's house, and he's on his Harley, like I said, decked out like Rob Halford from Judas Priest. It's all
Yeah.
leather, all studs, and his new pal is
So questionable.
sniffing poppers and so on like crazy, and he starts describing what I guess either possibly envisioned Monty to be, or just some strange dream where he's dreaming up like a centaur with a battering ram and so on, and talking about drinking beer and all this sort of stuff. And Monty is a teetotaler, not a fan of
Yup.
alcoholic beverages at all.
Yeah.
So he just is like really into milk and I guess smoothies. Big fan of that.
It's like a toddler.
Yeah.
Milk and smoothies. That's all it is.
And his date has like, very kinky interests and so on.
Weird, yeah. Like,
So that
it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's like played to like this uncomfortable, like, if yet another movie where we're playing into the stereotype of all gay dudes are gross and kinky and like piss and like weird shit.
Yeah, and Monty says, "You must be thrilled about the Immaculate Conception," or the date does. I'm sorry, and it's like this is his new friend is even bringing in religious component stuff, even though he's completely out of
everything. He's trying everything in this like whole weird fucking foreplay thing. He's trying everything. Just get this poor guy. It's weird.
But Monty turns violent, and so that's where it really goes high into the right, because he's just like randomly, like in the midst of them talking, he's just unamused, I guess, and breaks out a switchblade and starts like just like cutting into the guy into his wrist.
Like, cuts his wrist and like goes on, like gets on top of it and just starts fucking ranting.
Oh yeah.
After making him kiss his boot, and then like begins ranting very basically how like gay people are like bringing down the civilization and like making America more perverse and just whatever. It's just like, oh my god.
I mean, at the end of all that, of his like spiel, he just stands up like tall and proud, and he starts like saluting an invisible flag. And his line literally is perverting the once clean masculine nature of the greatest power in the world, the United States of America. So he's just like, oh no.
Guys, this isn't the time to bring out modern politics because holy shit.
I mean, there's no mirror involved, but at this point,
thank God.
If this was back at Monty's place, there's mirrors all the time.
There's mirrors. There's multiple
because he has to see, and admire himself. So,
but that'll get him off, and he doesn't want to get off if he's going to be homophobic.
Yeah, I mean, it just, some of the.
Have we thought about this?
Yeah.
Have we thought about this?
At one point, he says, "In the beginning, God hurried to create the world in 6 days, and on the seventh, God was arrested and put in jail." It was like, what in the hell?
What? Okay, I think now is a good time to break and be like, John Albo, who like he made like a few short films after this, and like there's not much out there. This like screenplay looks like it got a lot of attention, like it got some accolades. What are you working through? What happened?
Who hurt?
Why are
who
we
hurt
here?
you? I think is the is really like, where.
What happened? Because there's nothing. Like, you see, like, the amount of time, like, we spent, like, on, like, talking about the behind the scenes. There is not much about this movie out there. There just isn't.
No, I discovered this through a podcast, Live at the Death Factory, and they did an incredible job going into these details that are like, this is just bonkers. But there was very little to find about this. The shorts that Albo did, I've almost written off as just unfindable, or they are.
I was wondering,
not in circulation.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. I was like, did you ever find anything? Because like IMDb says this guy has some stuff. He wrote, not directed, just he wrote.
Yeah,
it looks like he's pretty. Just what the information seems to be out there. It looks like he's pretty educated. You get your master's from Columbia University. Okay.
Yeah, it just at what point did this need to be?
What happened?
Because it has this fever dream effect in the film, and it's I think it's more than competently shot and so forth. It visually it's it's a feast of sorts. Uh,
Visually, it's fine. It's pretty. Everything looks sweaty, but like feels correct. Unfortunately, I'm not like I didn't notice anything visually that I was like, what the fuck? Like, it's
and
fine.
there's moments where use of lighting and especially certain
Yeah.
like vivid color stuff
Yes, for
is
sure.
very some moments you feel like, oh, this is kind of a David Lynch feel in certain
Yes,
places,
for
but
sure.
there's just such a singular focus that the film just flies quickly because you have such limited characters. We really are at like two characters plus cutesy
Hmm.
thing. Um,
Just a who just
Monty has
occasionally
a
pops
date.
up.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah, there's like this. Yeah, well, let's keep going.
well, a
Let's keep
visitor
going.
arrives, and I think
Yes.
that is Sally Kirkland, and she's in full
Yes.
nun habit attire
Yes.
stuff. So
Yes.
she breaks in and starts kind of proselytizing a little bit, and Monty is so afraid of anybody selling him anything or pushing any
Yeah.
sort of ideas and so on.
It's like a conspiracy theorist.
He is just locked. He's locked into himself. I mean, I don't know.
He's like, I'm not gonna pay you.
Yeah,
Like, oh my god.
yeah. His degree of like skepticism is really outrageous. Uh,
It's nuts.
but
Like, dude, not even I'm this bad with advertisers. Like, it's rough.
yeah, we all hate direct marketing or targeted marketing where you're.
It pains me when, because I work customer service now, right? And like, it pains me when I have to ask some random person, "Are you part of our rewards program?" And then like have to, and if they're not, I have to proceed to ask them like, "Would you like to sign up?" I'm just like, I feel dumb, or
Well,
like have to push like something, and I'm like, okay, I don't like this. It's like I know I have to do it, but I don't like it.
I
It
ha-
feels
I
mean.
have it
It feels vulnerable.
where it's like it's. I just feel so bad when people do have to do that, that sometimes it's just I'm
Yeah.
saying, oh sure, that's fine. Like, here's.
I feel just, I know, and it's like I understand all of their responses when they're just like, no, I'm good. It's just,
I mean,
it's
sometimes it's,
painful.
Parker, it's like the no solicitation, no
Yeah.
soliciting sign kind of thing, which you
Yeah.
think would go a long way, but it doesn't. And so
No,
if I'm
absolutely not.
interrupted by somebody that's selling pest control products or services like that, and the dogs
Yeah.
go crazy because that's just what
Yeah.
they do. I have two dogs.
Right.
That all of a sudden I kind of like turn it about, and so then I go out for like 40 minutes and talk about synthesizers with them or really obscure other,
As you do.
as one does, because I'm like,
As you're supposed to
and I'm
do.
so friendly and polite about it, but there is like that sort of revenge factor of like, well, you inconvenienced me, so I think I have a new best friend, and I think that kind of helps that they.
Don't show up to my workplace with this attitude. You know
Yeah,
that.
if you work
Don't
remote,
show up to my
this will.
cashier and
It's a
begin a
very.
conversation about this.
It does give you a little bit of a free pass where, like, in actual public instances, I'm much more
Yeah.
like, I'm not ever going to try to make more conversation than necessary because I just don't want to bother anyone. So it's like the over
Oh,
respect in public. And then if you kind of, knock on my door for gnat and crane fly treatments, you're going to get 40 minutes of interaction that you probably didn't
yeah.
sign up
I
for.
didn't know they had pest control up there, so.
I didn't either, but and they don't have cards or anything like that. And this has happened multiple times now where I ask for a business card just out of like pure politeness, knowing I'm going to recycle it.
No.
And they're just like, no, it's digital. We can just do it that
Girl, I know
way.
you don't live in Florida where the mosquitoes are. Relax.
Exactly. Or cicadas, as
Oh, fuck off.
you
We just had those.
when it rains frogs, I'll have questions.
Well, yeah, we'll have a talk. We'll have a talk. You'll be like, Parker, this weird thing's happening. You must know about it. I'm like, no, it's never happened down here. What did you all do? Does God hate you now?
The things you guys experience, I lost for words. but
You're a pussy.
they are real. They are.
They're so real.
They're very real. In fact, it's like
It's so
you're like, it's deafening.
yeah, it's like,
I can't hear outside
what do you mean I can't hear
because the
outside?
cicadas
No,
are
they were
so
here.
loud.
Yeah, no. They're so loud, but like they're gone now. They're gone. They moved up north. I think they died. They died.
Well,
they're
it's a
dead.
natural thing.
It's natural. Back to the movie. Yeah, Sally Kirkland's like just continuing to sell this, like, whatever her cause is, just continues to sell it. And like, I have the quote here. It's like she's like explaining, we're not pushing, not selling, advising, indeed imploring for the restoration of our skulls and ultimately our brains. Restoration back to their earliest function and evolution. You see, sir, our cerebral hemispheres, once dedicated primarily to the sense of smell, are in danger of becoming extinct.
I mean, that's the kind of thing, you know.
That's a direct quote.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
If somebody says that to you, I mean, you're definitely going to listen.
Yeah.
At least take it under consideration. Like, that's a well-crafted pitch.
Yeah, but like, you just hear that and like, I mean, listen, I consider myself kind of educated and my head is swimming if like you just walk up to my door and after some chit chat you throw that at me. Okay, some fucking Neanderthal like Monty is gonna be like, what? It's like drools, you know, there's brain matter leaking out of his ears, you know, drools coming, you know.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
Monty's really
just
not
a lot to like throw on someone if you're just like trying to sell something or like get money.
Well, and Monty's not having it. He's like,
Absolutely.
Nothing becomes extinct if you nourish it. Anything alive gives birth.
And then he starts ranting about his biceps.
Yeah, these are. I think this as a film, this is the buy-in point. The next bit of dialogue that he says.
This is where you're kind of like, oh, this is gonna get good. Like, oh, this is good.
Well, he refers to his bicep as being pregnant with power, and it has a soul, a fleshy soul that you can squeeze. Yeah, and then he asked what question?
Would you like to squeeze my fleshy soul?
And it's so filthy, and you're like, is this nunsploitation at this point? Because Sally Kirkland is admiring his muscles, and then reaches.
She like goes to like squeeze it, and then she's like, I can't.
Thankfully,
she's like, I can't do it.
Absolutely.
I'm like, I'm kind of relieved. That is a quote. You've probably seen it, but that is a quote I have sent to a couple of friends just out of context. If we're having like one of those, kind of shit post conversations where it's just like random things, and I'll just like randomly go. Like I went to like my friend who lifts. I just went to her. I was like, "Would you like to squeeze my fleshy soul?" She just said, "Absolutely."
I mean, these are the lines.
It's that sort of. This is what happens when you watch too. This is like a special kind of brain rot, where it's like, just enough with like the generation, my generation or the generation after us. Enough with that. This is true brain rot. Because I've gone up to people and asked this, like close friends.
Well, Monty also is like he's very candid and very honest, whereas say a Patrick Bateman is very reserved. But I think everybody.
Bateman's gonna hide it. Monty it's in his name. He's got the full Monty.
It's just,
that's where the name comes from.
Yeah, he flexes on all different levels, I suppose. So,
well, Sally keeps talking. I'm calling her Sally. I know that's not the character's name, but we're gonna keep calling her Sally for a minute.
Yes.
She just begins talking about like a virus and like this nuclear meltdown, and it just, I don't get it.
Yeah, there's this like odd, like there's a huge snake that's crawling around, and then she's like really upset because she's like, if we don't fix things, women are going to have to lay eggs in a marsh. And she's really upset about this. And it goes to this like green wasteland stuff, and her, and basically her like laying an egg in just
she's
complete
fully nude, and there's just, it's weird.
Yeah, she's obviously like in distress.
Guys, periods are a thing.
That might be where this.
Can we make the connection? Yeah. Like, guys, Women have weird, like, we have, like, more bodily functions that are just not fun than guys do, maybe. It might just be that. I don't feel like that's a reach, especially when we're using eggs in this
Kind of
context.
context, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, well.
So Burton starts prepping in the kitchen chicken pot pie. And
I
that's
think, yeah, because, like,
normal.
Monty, like, fucking tells him, like, go make me food.
So next we have Monty answering his doorbell to this redheaded woman in a black dress with these big crazy hoop earrings, and she's singing and has like party favors ready to go. And
So weird. It's like, so, I mean, it's so 90s.
yep,
It's a hook. She's a hooker.
she is.
She's a
Yeah.
hooker.
We don't know though, like the backstory of course is she just shows up and Monty lets her right on in, and
Yeah.
he hasn't ordered any kind of services or anything. So
No one has ordered anything as far as we know.
creative license at this point. So yeah, she like busts out a
Yeah.
bottle of wine and starts talking to him about drinking, and of course again, like he doesn't.
I don't drink alcoholic
He's like,
beverages.
I don't put alcohol in my body.
And he's just like, they're not for me, but like you can do them. I'm not gonna stop you or
Yeah,
whatever.
he's pretty
She's
open-minded on it, which is a little bit of a surprise.
weird.
Yeah.
Very strange, but she keeps and then she gets religious. Like starts talking like religion stuff, and it's like this is again where it's like it begins getting heady and like whoa, what's going on? Like how do we get from point A to point B? That's it sort of begins because she talks about this book that she's been reading.
Well, and she goes into starts speaking almost like a degree of like kind of a preacher rant
Yeah,
of sorts.
that's like her dialogue from here on out. It's just like this. I mean, I grew up around nice preachers, but like yeah, it's like this weird like charismatic tangent, but it's like got all this bizarre content in
Yeah,
it.
I mean, she starts referencing like martyrs and so forth of like people that suffered and so on. And yeah, she kind of carries on with it. Now, Monty is just, I don't know that he's even paying much attention.
No, he's totally not. He's totally zoned out. He's just like, oh yeah.
I mean, she
I'm not
does
gonna try
ask
to do
him,
an Australian accent. He's like, oh yeah.
and she's like, do you like bowling? At the end of all of it, she's like, let's talk about.
She grabs his groin and is like, he's like taking off his shirt and he's like, and she's like, she grabs his crotch and is like, do you like bowling? And he says, no, but I was a whiz at ping pong.
I mean, respect to ping pong, table tennis.
It's a lot of hand-eye coordination, to be fair.
I mean, both are.
Something I don't have.
They're both pretty. They're both pretty fun to play. I mean, one degree is a little more serious than the other. I think.
Well, well. Then you get the ball joke, and then yeah, she just starts marveling at him. Like, I'm just okay.
I mean, she brings up
Just
calling him Monty Everest, and now we have it, which is really weird, of course.
why?
And we finally hear her like scream out, flexing with Monty, like that he should have his
Yeah.
own TV show.
Flexing with Monty.
They said the title of the movie.
Yeah, yeah, you knew it was coming. You know it was going to happen at some point.
Yeah, in a movie like this, it's like mandatory.
I don't know.
Sometimes it feels clever. Sometimes it feels like it's being a little smartassy.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
like it's being smart to be smart, not that like it's making a point.
So next,
So
next is my favorite part of the movie,
Oh.
or one of them, because it is so bizarre. So Monty and his date, it like cuts to them later that evening, and I thought,
Sure.
so she's dressed up like she's
Horse.
cosplaying a horse.
Cosplay is I take offense to
Oh
that.
well, I mean,
that is a strong word.
yeah,
friend.
yeah. Well, I don't know exactly. Like they're yeah.
This is the worst foreplay I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's bad. I mean, Monty's decked out as a cowboy with his assless chaps.
Assless chaps.
Yeah, because Which, every time you say that to somebody, that especially horse people, I'm a dog person. Now horse people, they're on a whole nother level of
They are.
expense
There's
and
some of them are
dedication.
wonderful, but yeah, they're totally different.
And they're like, all chaps are assless. This is not, there's not really like a lot of.
I think the implication is there's nothing under the chaps.
Correct. Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
more the implication. But regardless, they're assless chaps. They're meant to be
Yeah.
worn without pants. Okay, that's what we're getting at. And you don't see that initially, but you're gonna see it in a minute.
Well, now she has
But
a
she
blonde wig,
begins
she's like loving
horrible.
it.
Yeah, she's a right. Yeah, horrible, terrible rip-off dolly wig that I take offense to. Just if you know me, you know I treasure Dolly. I think everyone should. I think she should be the president, for God's sake.
That
And I feel between that and her southern accent or like western accent, whatever, I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like this where this is going.
Yeah, because
And she begins telling a story and all this whatever. And I'm just like, why? You can explain it because you're the
okay.
one that hyped this part of the movie up so much.
Oh,
You kept
yeah.
fucking referencing the bear. And I was like, what is gonna happen?
Yeah.
What are you gonna do to me?
Monty meets the bear.
He meets the bear.
And her
I had to explain Udo Kier in blackface. You have to explain this.
So
Okay.
So she goes on like this nostalgia sort of trip of she explains like her daddy saw this beautiful 600-pound hunk of beautiful female bear in the woods. And so we get this view of this giant taxidermy bear.
I think it's a polar
Or
bear.
yeah, it's along those
It's dark.
lines.
It's gross, but it's a polar bear.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's like on its back legs. It's taxidermied, so
Like this hits personal because in the city that I grew up in, it does, because the airport, this is no joke, the airport has a full-size bear in the airport, like just in the middle of
Did you grow up in Denver?
no. However, it was a kid, it was amazing because you'd walk up to it and it's all behind plexiglass. It's just this big, giant, hysterical bear. But it's standing. It's not upright like it's going to attack anybody. It's not frightening in that regard. But this bear definitely is like,
this bear is ready to attack.
It is, yeah. And Monty loves, he's a guy that loves a challenge.
He's into it. He's vibing.
Oh yeah.
He's there. It's just like, what kind of weird shit is this?
Well, Monty kind of, he wants to be in that kind of role as the dad here, of course. And so, yeah, so Monty runs in his chaps and just starts dry humping away right in front of the bear. And
I was like, what is going on? And there's grunting again, very vocal. And then she continues to talk in like her weird pastoral like, I don't know what the word is. Her like delivery. She continues in that tone and just
it kind of has like a street preacher kind of style to it that's like prophetic, and it's I don't know. You could see this at like a folk festival if there's hacky sack going on, because she says everything is connected cosmically. The unnatural became natural, and Monty Everest was consumed in the womb of a giant she-bear, part animal, part man, a legend, a hero for the nuclear age. I was like, that's.
I'm realizing this is a fantasy.
And who?
What is to come?
And whose is it? Is it a dual thing? I mean, it's mostly her, and then it switches into.
Well, it is, but like, it is. We'll get to like what happens in a bit after this whole thing, but it's like a woman telling the story of like a conception.
Yep.
And like in this one, it's like really heroic and like beautiful, and it's like, he and Burton are brothers, right? As far as we know, so we don't. It feels weird out of context. I think now that I'm explaining it, like at this point, but I think in a few minutes it'll make this slightly more sense.
I mean, Monty is at his.
You can see where I'm getting at. Yeah. I think you can see where I'm getting at.
Monty's so happy in this moment. It's like one moment where he's genuinely, aside from working out or lifting weights, he's at his most entertained.
For sure.
and then he's like he's like making motions in the mirror, and then he just, of course, because he has a firearm on him, takes his gun out and then starts
Okay.
shooting at an egg timer, which a
All
metaphor
right.
kind of thing. Yeah, hard to say.
Yeah, sure. The milk glass explodes.
Yep.
He's drinking milk before this. Like, there's a shot of him drinking like a glass of milk before this shit goes down,
Well, and the music.
and then that shit explodes. So I'm sure that means
Oh
something.
yeah, the music also, it has this old timey, like corny Wild West saloon type
It's so
music going
bad.
on, and it's as bad as it can be, which I think is on purpose because it gives it this comedic timing to the sequences.
Here's my here's my uncalled for classical trivia that you may or may not want to cut out. I don't know. Scott Joplin, who wrote like The Entertainer
Yeah.
and all that, like the famous
Hmm.
ragtime stuff. You know where he worked?
I do not.
In a brothel.
I mean, they need
Good for
entertainment.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, just no, it's random, but it popped in my head. I was like, shit.
It's so rare that we get that style and type of music
Yeah,
generally in a more modern film. It's
yeah.
just not used a whole lot.
Outside of parody, yeah.
Yeah.
It was just something I was like, this seems relevant. Okay,
So
continuing.
Burton's working on this pot pie, and I mean he's taking care to make this. And what really threw me off, of course, is that instead of baking
Bakes
the
it.
pie, he puts it into the microwave, and the microwave has this green hue to it when the
Oh, it
light is
doesn't look
on. I was
right.
like, this
It looks
this is
gross.
disgusting. It's like nobody
I
should
don't
do
like it.
this, but yeah, it
Oh
it
god.
goes into like a little bit of like, yeah, Monty starts into kind of
He
his
makes
rants about like women are the downfall of men,
Mhm.
and then Monty starts just chewing up and eating the pie that Burton makes, and we know
Yeah,
this
this is
is
after Lilith leaves.
after
Or
Lilith
like
leaves.
we
Yeah,
find out the hooker's name is
yeah.
Lilith. Like, so she goes on, she talks about Adam's first wife, Lilith, who was like the product of Adam's masturbation and whatever, which my brain immediately went, oh, Hazbin Hotel. That's how that show opens up. Is like the telling of like how Lucifer fell from the angels. And it mentions that. Um, if you have not seen Hazbin Hotel, I think you should watch
I've
it.
never seen that.
Too
I
bad.
will have to look into.
But while he's eating this pie, yeah, I think while he's eating this pie, he like is trying to explain the story of Lilith to Burton and is just doing it really badly. It's like trying to retell a joke or like a little kid telling you what happened at school. And then like yeah, it just like they have like a kind him and Burton kind of have like a decent back and forth about like women. And it's kind of like and then Monty's just fucking shoveling in this pie. It's birthday pie.
Oh, it's bad birthday pie, is what it is.
It's birthday pie. Who
Yeah,
fucking makes? I mean, okay, well I know you have pie for your birthday, but I'm like chicken pot pie for your birthday. What?
yeah, that's an odd one.
Okay,
And we
okay.
do discover that Burton put a little special sauce into the pie. So this is not an ordinary pie. This is
This is none of this is normal.
uh-uh.
And then the nun walks in. She's back in a slightly different outfit, but she's there now. It's
I
about
think they
so much
describe it
worse.
as the toxic vanilla extra that was put into the pie.
Who puts vanilla extract into chicken pot pie? Let alone the whole bottle. Does Monty just not have taste buds? Does he only feel texture? Because you fucking would taste that shit after a certain point, right?
Yeah, I mean it's
Yeah.
nasty, but he's nasty, so it's
He shovels that shit. It's like, what the fuck?
yeah,
So it's date rape, basically.
correct.
I mean, they
Yeah,
don't like do anything to him, but it's like he basically like he's like I think like him and like the three of them get into a conversation. He's like, oh, there's this sharp pain in my fucking bicep, and then he's like, oh, but it's gone now, and then he like just collapses,
and I had to
and then like
consult
they
you
just
on
begin.
the the physiology because they started discussing the snapping of occipital condyles.
I don't know what that is. I don't. I hear occipital and I'm like, that's a brain thing.
Yep.
Oh, what else? I don't know how to help you.
So Monty's
Oh,
incapacitated. I mean, he's
pretty
basically
much,
out,
yeah. He's like
nearly
paralyzed.
out cold. And we're just, this last act, third act of the film just
It's
flies
so
because it
crazy. It's
gets,
so good, but it's like insane.
yep. We find out that Lilith, in fact, is his mother. Monty is the father of Burton. So Burton has now discovered, oh, that's not my brother the whole
That's
time. That
disturbing.
was my dad this whole entire time.
That is so like that's like why it's like kind of hard to explain this is because it's so it's like you read it as like they're brothers, like and then it's like, it's like it's weird, but like okay, right? But then like you read it as like, father son, it just
It breaks
ew.
the social contract. Like at this point, we've been lied to for 50 minutes, and now we have to go reevaluate the entire film in an entire
You
different
do, and it's
context.
like I mean, oh my god. Um Occipital condyles are a bone thing in your head. It's part of the occipital bone.
Well, that kind of ties in.
Interesting.
I mean,
Yeah,
at least they're
it's
not
a
doing
bone.
pineal glands because
I'm gonna keep
the
pineal.
pineal
Pineal.
gland.
Pineal. You don't get to mispronounce
I,
that.
I I never would,
Oh,
but we have to enjoy the lovely
we
Stuart
have to.
Gordon films.
We have to. Yeah, it's like it's the one thing I'm like that. I love From Beyond, but it bothers me so much from a scientific perspective. Yeah. So they're just. It's like an evil villain monologue because Monty's just on the floor with his mouth wide open, like, you know, and like Lilith, the nun is just standing and like Burton are just right over him. It's weird. And then Burton takes out the scarf, the red scarf that I tried mentioning earlier.
Hmm. It kind of comes
And it's
back
like
into
this,
play of a comfort blanket, strange object.
but like, wow, when he says it like earlier in the movie, it's like, I remember it being like, I remember writing like in my notes, I was like, this is weird. And like, maybe you're lonely, buddy. Like, this is kind of, you don't want anyone to find out about this,
Yeah, it's just kind of a
you
throwaway thing
know?
where it's just there enough that you're like, oh, this is so
And this is
oddly placed.
weird. I
Maybe it's going to
don't
come
like
back
this.
into the storyline.
Yeah. You don't want it to happen, but let's hear. Uh, and then you get the more cow things. I mean, when you get the line, you were conceived on the haunches of a cow, it's just okay. And then the moist heat of cows, I think, also comes in somewhere. And it's like, who wrote this?
Also, there was during the pie making or around that time, there's also a
There's a
pet in the
parrot.
house, which is this parrot.
There's a
Yeah.
parrot!
Which usually just says Monty sucks, Monty sucks.
Monty
And now
sucks.
it's Monty's dead.
Yeah, Monty fucking dies, and we have like 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, and now yeah, so I mean Monty's he looks seemingly dead sort of, and
He's parrot, yeah, I guess, yeah, don't put too much vanilla extract in your chicken pot pie, or else you'll end up like
yeah,
Monty.
well, with him incapacitated, that's where Lilith starts putting the moves on Burton, saying like, "Oh, I'm still young." And Burton's like,
Ugh.
"Maybe I could call you sis."
And then they start making out, and it's like, alright, cut. None of this is okay.
No. No.
This is the weirdest Oedipus thing. Oh god, okay, there's another connection. It's you kill your father and you fall in love with your mom.
Yeah, yeah,
I think I just ruined the entire movie for myself.
I mean, the parrot does keep talking, and
He keeps
it's
fucking
like,
talking because, like, in the middle of this, he just yells, "Monty has a boner," and it's like, you get this visual. Monty's laying down. He's wearing shorts. Thank God. And he does, in fact, have a boner.
yeah, I mean,
And he's
look, it's he's got like jogging shorts on, But those things are like,
Whose horse is that, man?
yeah, it's as if they're sealed and there's a ferret running around, running amok. It's obscene.
It's so weird.
And
Yeah. So then it cuts to this ritual thing that like just kind of overtakes the last bit of the movie. Which,
Lilith is like, hey, that's Monty's spirit. He's still alive. He's just not fully in his body. And now he has
yeah,
like
sure.
he kind of Day of the Dead death mask style makeup all over his face. And then we cut to cutesy thing, who's just eating bananas in his cage because
he's just there. Yeah, he's here and just like watching this whole thing. Trust me, that's important.
I mean, Lilith
And
does
then,
sort of try to start the releasing of the spirit to the astral plane verbally, and that doesn't really.
Yeah, I think Burton tries to shoot his dick
Multiple times.
and the dick fucking dodges.
It dodges. Yeah, it's about.
It like moves, and it's like that's not a visual I want.
No, he breaks out a revolver and just starts laying rounds.
Natural. I mean, I think I would do the same thing if I saw something that was like supposed to be dead, but it's still moving. I would probably shoot at it as well. But like, no, I don't want to compare that to a snake. But like, ugh. And then Lilith's like, no, this is not how it's done. And then she like fucking screams at his penis.
What specifically did she say? Is there anything?
I'm not gonna read this, but she just like.
I mean, I definitely know what she said because I made an audio clip.
I know what she says.
Yeah.
She just is like, look, Monty, you dumb motherfucker. Get the fuck out of your dead of hell and damn you to reincarnate into the lowest biological form. Get out, you asshole. I promise I'm not making anything
It's
up.
Sally
And I think
Kirkland,
that does
man.
the trick.
Just.
She does a good job.
I command you to leave the source of your earthly desires.
You son of a bitch won't leave.
Monty's spirit is earthbound.
More like dick-bound.
Pleasures of the flesh are too overwhelming for him to give up.
No. I've had it with Monty. He's gotta get out of our lives. The son of a bitch has gotta be dead and stay dead.
Stop! Bullets can't kill it. It's Monty's spirit. Spirit trapped in flesh. Okay. Look. Monty, you dumb motherfucker, get the fuck out of your dead dick now!
Yeah!
Or I will condemn you to the outer regions of hell and damn you to reincarnate into the lowliest biological form. Get out, you asshole!
Where? Monty's soul's finally gone. You did it.
Like, the one thing I tried to watch of hers was what she won a Golden Globe for, from Anna, from 1987. And, like, from what I saw from it, the movie's fine. Like, she does a good job. Like, playing, like, a Czech immigrant.
Yeah, she's so talented, and I think her doing a comedy role effectively in this, she knows how to pull it off.
It's very bizarre, but she does pull it off. And then, I guess that does the trick. I guess, like, her just fucking screaming at Monty's dick. Like, and, like, getting his soul. Like, I guess that did it. Because,
yep, both have passed on. Monty's spirit has departed.
He's gone. It's just the body. We just have the shell. And you can read it. You can say it.
Okay, so,
I have trivia for this, but like I think you're gonna kill me.
So the next sequence we cut to is cutesy thing in his cage.
The next shot. Yeah.
We finally get the reveal that he can speak, and he
yes His
he
voice.
belts out Ave Maria in full for about 3.5 to 4 minutes, and it's the
Yeah.
most beautiful, sweet, serene singing you'll
It's the
ever
voice of an
hear.
angel. You want me to break
Yes.
you? That's not the actor.
Yeah.
That's not the actor. It's a dub. I've looked it up. It's a dub, and apparently this actor, Geoff Koch, he does the singing. He has been in the chorus for multiple Disney films.
Wow.
Like, I like looked at like his credits, and I was like, "You're on the music department for like '90s Disney." So like The Lion King, Mulan, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, and Winnie the Pooh. Even Jim Carrey's How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Like, okay, and it's a Cesar Soprano, so I'm guessing that's why they have him. Never heard have that sort of thing, but like, I was so like taken aback when I read that. I was like, what is going on?
I mean, a gig is a gig, and if it's just licensing
Okay,
the rights, but I mean, the fact that
they might not have like Ave Maria is public domain, so
yeah, but I mean, but
they
his
might have
performance.
just said, why don't you sing this in soprano? We're not going to tell you what this is for.
Could you
That might have been what
could
happened.
you imagine though? Like that's your grandfather's voice, and you're looking at his back catalog, and you're like, oh, well, he was used
What's
in
this?
flexing with
What's
Monty.
this?
I mean, it could be for Monty,
You
but
find it, and it's like we have to sit through an hour, and then you get this, and you're like, oh my fucking god.
yeah, a gimp in an oversized bird cage singing your grandfather's voice coming out as Ave Maria is
The birth of Jesus Christ.
it's a
Yeah,
lot.
okay.
It's a lot to
What
unpack.
religion? What? Okay. Let's continue.
Okay, so one notable thing, it's difficult to see earlier with Cutesy, but he's got this bat boy look kind of going on because
He
his
does, yeah.
ears, he has these like pointed
Very prominent
prominent
ears.
ears kind of going on, and like Burton is like she's strangely respectful of like, okay, monty's monty's left the
He's,
world and so forth, where
yeah, this is how
Lilith just
funerals
turns
work.
into like she starts getting into like a very crazed state, saying, I crave fires,
Alright, buddy.
white heat caressing my flesh. And Burton is over, back with his ganja uh pipe action going on, except now he's got these like strange like face painting going on. It reminded me of Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now sort of thing going on.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
yeah, he's got like some weird. It's just like, alright. And he removes like some of the veils from Lilith, and it's revealed she is bald and has tattoos on her head.
A whole body, really. I mean,
Yeah, her whole body.
prominent.
And then she just fucking strips. And like Lilith's like, I mean, that Sally Kirkman's like 50. She's middle aged. You wouldn't be able to tell.
No.
But like, you get a good view of her. Like,
Well, that
ugh.
I mean, it goes to the darkness, because really the next up is we have a bathtub sequence.
The bathtub's already like been in the movie. I don't think we mentioned it. The bathtub's been in the
Mhm.
movie. It's like when Lilith's over for like that first time, and like she's trying to explain to Monty what she's doing, and he just takes a shower while she's around. Yeah, we didn't mention it. That's like where you get the line like, "Oh, squeeze my fleshy
Mhm.
soul," or "Would you like to touch my fleshy soul?" or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, his muscles are pregnant with power. Yeah.
Power.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, perhaps they are. Yeah. So we get a lot of like again more heady religion mythology stuff, and I'm like, please stop immediately.
Well, she's speaking all
I
this
don't have my
while
degree.
she starts with an axe to basically, I guess, process
She chops him up.
his body.
Chops him up.
Yeah, and then like a hacksaw
Yeah.
going on as she's talking about avenging
So
angels and like Kronos, the Greek god of mythologies, by castration of the father. And
so she cuts off his left hand.
yep,
I think.
we get the left hand
Yeah, she cuts off his
reference.
left hand. It's just like it's so like what is going on? This feels it's like the actual like synopsis we have of this, it doesn't capture like how long this actually is. Because it feels like it takes a while in context of the movie.
Hmm.
Like it's not just like a little 2-minute sequence. It like takes a decent amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, she drags it out the whole. Yeah,
And Burton's watching, so.
I mean, the plus side is she did put all of Monty's various body parts in a garden for the organic farmers, so that's kind of a farmers market moment.
It's
Of
yeah. I don't know what they fucking plan. I don't know what her and Burton plan to do afterwards, but the last shot of this movie is Monty's decapitated head in a cabbage patch, eyes open wide. It is creepy. Creepy as
it's a
fuck.
perfect comedic and horrific ending to a
What?
film that has both in fairly equal
Right?
amounts.
It's like I did not sign up for any of
Nope.
this.
But there's no other film like it. I think that's where
They're not guys.
Monty
Well, that's right.
Monty
Like, there's nothing like this. And then yeah, you get like this weird song at the during the end credits. It's just I'll be honest, I listened to like part of it because you mentioned it, and like I was like trying to like shut down some stuff, and I was like, what the fuck?
yeah, it
So
has like it has this kind of beat to it, but then it's just all these different clips of from the film of Monty and his friend, for lack of a better word, his special friend
shut up.
that was paid for. We didn't mention. Yeah, the hooker was paid for by Lilith, so that was a plant
Yeah, she got the
entirely
hooker there.
to.
I guess to like disarm him. I guess to like disarm him. It's weird. Ugh, it's just this is what sleep deprivation does to a person is you make and watch shit like this voluntarily.
It has a singular sort of voice or tone to the whole film also, so it feels like one person truly yeah, there's not tons of films that get made where you're just like, I
Mm,
definitely know this is one specific. Nobody's telling them what not to do, so they
that's
are
very true.
absolutely just.
They go buck wild.
Hmm.
I mean, there's nothing like it. I mean, again, I know I'm constantly saying like I don't want to be here, but this is a 5 star.
It's
Unfortunately,
incredible. I mean,
it's up there. It's like if it works, it's not for everyone. You know, if it works for you, it works for you.
yeah, it made me very uncomfortable on the first watch.
Mm,
I had
please.
fun, but again, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Knife plus heart kind of goes into territory of that as well.
Hmm.
That you just most folks that we love the movie, but it's challenging, and Monty is equally that because the stuff that comes out of his mouth is at times just horrendous. However, it fits.
Horrendous is a very nice
Yeah,
word.
yeah. I mean,
It's very appalling at
mhm.
times.
And the film ends with again this symphony from the old French, the plant henbane, a poisonous herb. And so it starts cryptic and it kind of ends
And it
cryptic.
ends
It
cryptic.
does.
It ends so fucking cryptic. Yeah, well, that's flexing with
Yeah.
Monty. We're happy. We this is like this in United Trash. We kind of knew. We were like, all right, we got to start this off with a bang.
It was
We gotta get the momentum.
it was a hard one to follow up. For me to pick out something that I'm like, I will equal
But this was
your
natural.
United Trash in some challenging ways, but at the same time they're so
Well,
much different that
no, it's good.
they're both very very fun.
It's this is nice. This is nice. All right. Do you have any like 3 recommendations you've seen recently that you would like to talk
I
about?
do.
Because I know we're in the middle when we're recording this. We're in the middle of June exploitation. So I kept like anything I've because I think we're still planning to do an episode on that, or at least like kind of rank like our top picks from the month.
Yes.
Uh, I like kind of stayed away from that.
Yeah, the three picks that I had
Just
are they're not uh one is just mainstream, which I saw recently, which is The First Omen, and
nice. That's right.
really enjoyed that. I didn't I had no real expectations for it, and as you know me, I'm not always as up to date with modern film, but
Oh
the
no,
first Omen
no,
had
same.
so much kind of 70s goodness to it. It's set in 1971, and like the degree of care that went into keeping a soundtrack of that time period and
Hmm.
doing that really justice, just it makes the film that much better when you have just a sonic enjoyment of the film. But visually,
Yeah.
I was really it's just shocked me how much I enjoyed it. Overall,
Okay.
the effects were excellent. The storyline's a lot of fun, and having it happen with the film Immaculate, kind of at the same time with a
That's
very
right.
very similar plot premise. I enjoyed that as
Yes.
well. But the first Omen stands out. Absolutely loved it. It's a film I'm sure I'm going to go back a couple times a year and rewatch and enjoy. The
Yeah.
second,
Everything released from this year I have not liked for the most part.
it's
So
been a rough
I'm like
year.
hoping like it's a weird year. I think I'm like hitting all the wrong ones because like I watched Drive Away Dolls, didn't like it,
Yeah.
and I watched like Late Night with the Devil, which I know a ton of people love, but like I was like I don't fucking see it.
Yeah, I had moments. There was the things you kind of root for, but it got pretty long in the
Yeah, it
tooth.
was just kind of
You know.
doesn't yeah. Okay, what's your second pick?
The second pick was the Mystical Rose, which
Yay, we're finally talking about it.
which was a bit of a deep,
Love this movie.
yeah, a bit of a deep cut. Um, it was from 1976 by a director named Michael Lee, and it, it's really it's a tough one to give like a synopsis, but the
It's like
it
Monty.
is,
You can't
yeah,
it's not it's like you just can't and there's some serious trauma being worked
it's a
through.
lot of, yeah. I mean, it's kind of dealing with
Like, woo man.
Catholic upbringing, so there's a lot that deals with some of those, I guess, maybe traumas at times, but it has
It's a
plenty.
lot.
It's plenty to process as
It's a
an
lot.
experimental film. I was like, this is really interesting. Now it was all kind of,
Yeah.
by this time there was already a lot of really amazing neat things occurring by 76, so
Yeah.
there's plenty in it that's derivative or homage, etc. But the hard work that went
Mhm.
into so much of the animation and
The
collage work
editing.
and editing is just,
It's
it's
insane.
really really shocking, and there's just not tons of filmmakers to do that. The director didn't do a whole lot of other films. I mean, it's an hour long movie. It feels a lot longer in some moments because uh, there's a lot of there's some animal cruelty kind of
There's some animal
components.
stuff that I'm like,
Yeah, involving like a lamb and so forth.
some pornographic stuff that's kind of out of
Yeah,
nowhere.
yeah, they where you're not
That's like I was
expecting.
watching I'm like texting you like, "What is this?"
Yeah, it feels as dangerous, I suppose, as it probably is, and I don't mean that to say like it's, be edgy or
No,
anything like that. And there's
absolutely
parts
not.
that I would like if I enjoyed this. There's moments I would enjoy it without certain sequences, but
For sure.
it's amazing. I mean, it's a fascinating watch. It's called The Mystical Rose. Um, yeah, so that's my
Your
second
second
pick.
pick.
I went for something a little bit more endearing on my third pick, and it's called Shut Up, I'm Crying. That's the title. And I fell in love with this. It's a short by Robert Siegler from 1970, and I mean the gist is it's kind of like a bickering husband and wife that have a business, and a an archangel of sorts or genie type figure is giving them three wishes, and so they kind of
Mhm.
pick sort of goofy things. One of them is like the wish to have children and so forth. So then they get these amazing
Oh.
adult kids that kind of come back and help their business. Um, and yeah, it's a lot of like banter and antics, but it's really sweet, charming. I didn't think for a film with the word crying in the title that you actually like it hits, pulls on some heartstrings and yeah, has an actual like emotional response of in 20 minutes of a little bit of
Interesting.
trickery of like,
Okay.
oh, I'm laughing, this is a good time, and then then the
You're
allergies
funny.
start acting up, and sometimes we have seasonal allergies. It's okay to talk about.
You're sneezing aggressively, trying to hide any sort of emotion that's
Yeah,
happening.
yeah. So that was one,
Yeah.
and it is just fun to say. Shut up, I'm crying is about the most like kind of silly Italian esque.
Like I don't say that on a daily basis. No, just kidding.
It's yeah. How about you, Parker? What were you?
Two of mine were rewatches from recent because life. One of them is Female Trouble from John Waters. I showed that to some friends, for kind of, weekly movie nights that I'm finally back to hosting. Uh, I'm sure everyone who is listening to this has at least heard of it, has probably seen it. Uh, Not much to say about it.
A beautiful, perfect film.
Uh,
I
it's
I don't know
perfect.
that any. By far, it's my favorite John Waters film. There are many Waters
It's up
films, but
there.
boy,
I I think I still like Pink Flamingos just like a tad better, but like I love both. I love this movie anyhow. It was like something I wrote. I was like, I want to give this like more than 5 stars, but I can't because that's not how the rating system works.
yeah,
You know, it felt appropriate. This is camp. My next one was also really gay, but really sad. It's My Own Private Idaho. I had a bad June exploitation watch earlier this week, and was like, I'm gonna rewatch this to feel something,
it's good comfort
and
food.
it worked. I'm a fucked up person. I watched my sad gay cowboys on a road trip where not like one of the like just they just it's so hard to watch, but it's so good. Especially like being able to read into both Keanu and Rivers' characters. It's just it's
It's the All
perfect.
American Love Story.
Oh yes. And then my last pick was something I watched for the Criterion Challenge. I'm a little surprised I didn't get around to watching this for Schlingensief research, but just because of a certain thing in this. However, I'm happy I finally got the balls to watch it. Sweet Movie from 1974.
Amazing pick.
I
That was a really
It's
when I
so
saw that you would watch that, I was like, oh, you have arrived. That is
it's
yeah.
challenging, but I feel fucked up for liking it. I understand why people are like not fans and like I think it's very I mean it's well known because one actress who played Miss World or like the Canada entry for the Virgin contest. I know like she walked off set at one point because of like how like the stuff they were making her do was just getting more and more crazy, and then like that's where the second plot line with the sailor came in. And then of course like the kid stuff with like the sailor Anna Planeta is just
Yeah. Yeah,
disturbing
it
and
goes
gross.
dark.
Like it's like one of those things. I was like, all right, I understand everything else that's going on. What's this? Just would you like to tell the class, sir? No, I really liked this. I mentioned Schlingensief because of Vianney's actionism. The fuck. What's the thing with all the people and they're having what's basically an orgy with like the food? The commune. The commune.
Commune. I was like, what is Caligula the ultimate cut? Is that the one?
Google, tell me what
Yeah.
Caligula is. No, it's with the commune because Otto Mule was a famous Viennese actionist. He's like their leader. He's the guy who's like being reborn. Yeah. And it's disgusting. This movie, it's so gross, but like I understand it. Like it's what it's going for. I'll probably revisit it in a few years when I'm kind of like not
I'll have to give
delirious.
it a try again. I really just remember how entertaining the first
It's
half,
very fun.
but then like the second
Yeah.
half, I think I have just sort of blotted out of memory, which does kind of happen sometimes.
I think when you have when you just have like child molestation in the middle of it,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's just
I
like
understand.
nah.
Or like people shitting on plates, and you're like, all right, we're good. I'm good here.
They ruin a
The
meal.
job's done.
Usually it's just verbal, but not in this.
No, this is bad. No, it's good. Wow, I can't believe I promoted that successfully. I hope I don't get written out of any wills today. For our next episode, we're talking about Rosa von Braunheim's City of Lost Souls, which is a German film that I think on first glance it feels like John Waters, but it's a bit more punk, and it's also in German, and I think it's cooler overall, if that makes sense.
It's one that we just somewhat recently discovered and really
Yeah.
took to, as in, like, where has this been my entire life? This level
Right.
of kind of musical. I mean, it's a film with music and so forth, but it just has such an irreverent nature to it, and it doesn't care
Yeah.
at all. And you have
It doesn't care. It's out there. I mean, it's appropriate. We're like recording this in June, during Pride Month. And it's like I think it's a very good film for that. But we're gonna be talking about that next episode. You can find the podcast on Instagram at Where Is My Mind Podcast. You can find me on Instagram and Letterboxd at Parkit_BE. You can find Ryan on Instagram and Letterboxd at Ryan_BMD. Until next time, we'll see you guys. Thank you for listening.
take care. Bye bye.
Bye, Dad.
Benedicta tu in mulieribus, et benedictus, fructus ventris, ventris tu.